Today, Joachim Persson is joining us here in the BEC office for a little interview. Joachim, I think you don't need an introduction, former top 10 player, now coach of Anders Antonsen. Thanks for your time today.
Welcome. Happy to be here.
We will start with some quick icebreaker questions and then we just talk a little bit about your situation and the work with Anders.
Okay.
The first one would be, what's for you the best part of being a coach?
To help someone else reach his potential or her potential, but to give the knowledge that I have to someone else, and that guy or girl can become a better player in this case.
Is there a worst part for you, or anything that you don't enjoy that much?
I think anything in life has upsides and downsides, and the worst part is when you work with a top guy like Anders, is that he's very, very perfectionist. So you always feel like that no matter how well we're doing, that it could always be better, and it's hard to ever relax and just be calm.
Living in Dubai is?
Living in Dubai is it's nice without a winter jacket, so it's it's a good life. Again, there's upsides and downsides, but in general it's a good decision.
Do you have a biggest goal as a coach?
Of course, in this cooperation with Anders, the dream is to make him number one in the world. So we can call that the goal, but I always like to put a goal in terms of results, but also in terms of progress. And my goal is to at all times enjoy the path and to see that he's improving at all times.
Is there one thing that you never understood as a player but now understand as a coach, or that was easier or worse, harder for you back then and now easier to understand?
I'm not sure, maybe I already understood it as a player, but I realized I should have done more mobility training myself. That's probably, I had a tendency to wanting to work really hard on court, and also because I enjoyed that a lot, but the mobility part, it was painful, and hence maybe sometimes I neglected that part.
If you think back, is there one moment that comes to your mind, one funny moment, either as a player or as a coach, that if I ask you about the funniest moment of your career related to badminton?
Of course, you want a funny moment or a best moment?
Whatever.
One of my best moments was winning the Thomas Cup semi-finals with Denmark in Japan, I think 2005 probably, or 2006, where I'm winning the decisive match, so we are winning 3-2 against Malaysia and going to the final. That was like a moment where I thought, okay, every work that I ever put into this, every dedication, it was worth it, because just this moment was very satisfying.
That sounds pretty cool, actually. So talking about your work now with Anders, because you mentioned already, coming off a week like the All England now, with the semi-final and many really special games, how would you rate this overall week for you, for Anders?
So I think anyone in Europe, especially, that has seen Anders come up as a player from juniors, knew that there was something special about that guy. I remember seeing him play the first time for real was in Belgium. The year, I'm not sure, he won that tournament where he was playing Christian Lind in the finals, and when I saw him play there, I was pretty certain that he's gonna be a world-class player. Obviously, you need luck in the right moment, but he had all what it takes, and then from there on, it was just like going a lot uphill, meaning that his career took a steep increase and everything was going quite well, and then it was super hard for him the year 2022 with a lot of injuries and some maybe also end of 21 he also lost some important matches. I think Olympics he lost the quarterfinal where he was in a good position. World Championships against Kian in the semifinals, he wasn't in a winning position, but he could maybe have done something there. And then Thomas Cup against Jonathan Christie, that was also a big game, and he lost it. So he had some wind against him, as you say, and I think he had a tough year then in 22 with all the injuries. So bringing him back on court and now having a big success also in terms of the way he was presenting himself, not only the result, because he also presented himself quite well, I think, in January, but the way he was presenting himself in All England and also the result that he got is obviously a huge is a huge boost for his and our self-confidence. So coming back to the question, I'm not sure if I answered it correctly.
I think as you said, like probably after all this tough times in the last year, a pretty big win. Also for the mind, I guess. When he lost this match against Li Shifeng, where he like had a crazy comeback in the second game, then was in a good position, as you said, like in the third one, I thought that he would maybe be like, I don't know, sad or mad or like angry afterwards. But in the post-match interview, he was just like super calm and proud of what he achieved. Is it the same you experienced then with him? And
of course, it was mixed feelings, because we could also have lost that match 21-11, 21-11, because it didn't look good for 2 sets. But I think we were proud of the way he came back into that match, and obviously we've spoken already at this point a lot about how could he have played this rally different or this rally different. So of course there's a mixed feeling. On one hand you feel like, okay, I was close to going further, but on the other hand, and that's also the charm of badminton and professional sports in general, it's very often small points or small details that can make a huge difference. So I think we need to look at it in a more holistic perspective. In one way he could have lost easily, and then the public would maybe have said, okay, he's not that good, he still lost 11-11 to Li Shifeng, but now we can sit here and say he could almost have won that, so he's pretty close to the top level. And I think Anders and me, we are trying to see this more like not black and white, but in a gray zone, that maybe you are back to your old level, or maybe you're not. Let's see what the future brings. The only thing it actually really doesn't matter that much, because we cannot really affect the outer circumstances, which would be the performance of the others. We can just focus on optimizing our performance, and then the future will tell us if we are if we can stabilize on the level that he showed in All England, or if we cannot. Again, a question to this match, because he said like he could have lost it in straight games, and he also said that in the post-match, but I think in the second game he was down 11-4. Yeah, 11-4, 17-12, or 11-17,
like
11 maybe.
A huge gap.
Yeah.
What do you tell a player in that situation? Or is it him talking in those moments because he knows what he wants to do?
I think we always have we are very communicative, both of us, so we more have like a dialogue. I think I remember I came in and I said, he's playing really well, the guy you're playing. I don't know, I'm not sure what we have to do here. the only thing I'm sure of is that we need to make him insecure, because if we're not making him insecure, then he's just gonna roll out that performance that he did, and we are gonna die slowly. So I said, and then I said, but it would really be a lot of fun to come back in this game, or maybe even win it from here, because I mean, I think Anders played well until that point, but just not well enough to beat Li Shifeng at that point. And then I think he came up with a plan, how can he make Li Shifeng insecure, and he changed to be more aggressive, and succeeded with that. But we also spoke about on a different day, if he played the same match, maybe some of the things he invented after 11 would have gone badly, and then he would have lost 21-8. But it was better to use that strategy than just keep on playing as we did till then, because then he would have played a nice match, but he would never have been able to catch up a 4-11 lead.
Yeah, I think it was obvious that he had to change anything, and as you said, he looked way more aggressive, keep pushing himself more. Exactly. Because the whole week before he looked super calm and like always super focused. And when I remember like watching matches from him a few years ago, he was always pretty loud and outgoing. Yeah. And now this changed a little bit. Do you talk about this, or what's the thought behind it?
We talk about that Anders and Anders tells me, but I've spoken to Anders about badminton for many years, because we've been close friends, and sometimes I've been traveling when he's going on holidays. I have been joining, and sometimes I've been on court with him during these holidays amongst some other people. But I've always loved discussing badminton with Anders because he's very nerdy about it, and so am I. And what we have discussed is very often, and Anders hates if he's not doing this, but he wants to play all points he's playing with consciousness, awareness. So I think everyone who's played badminton on a competitive level recalls a situation where you don't even remember what happened in the game, but Anders almost remembers every point that he's played, even after the match, which shows me he's super aware and conscious of everything that he does. So it's not random what's happening on the court. Like, he's really trying to make every shot with intention, and everything that he does, and obviously keeping calm helps him focus on doing that. So I think that's probably one of the reasons that he's like that. So to focus more on himself than the interplay with the opponent, I would say. But like sometimes I also believe that showing the energy should be more for himself than an interplay necessarily with the. If it makes sense to show the energy, you show the energy, but it can also raise your tensity to a level where it affects the way you can stay calm. So yeah, it's a balance. In any situation, you need to evaluate what is needed, and in most situations, I assume that he feels that the calm level helps him stay sharp and aware.
When you say like that, he is always super aware and also like conscious about everything. How is it from going to being close friends to working together on that kind of professional level? And you also mentioned that he thanked you, the coaching staff, after the tournament. And he said like, I know I'm not easy to work with. How would you?
I mean, I think generally the transition has been good. I think it has not affected our friendship at all, which is positive. But it's also because he's a very clever guy, so he can like in some specific situations or moments he can be unreasonable, but he's also man enough to admit that afterwards. And when he asked me last summer if I potentially could be interested in it, I said, yeah, of course. I think there's not many projects in badminton that would interest me, to be honest, but one of the projects that would obviously be someone like you, where I feel I like to think that I understand badminton on a very sophisticated level, and I feel that you are one of the people that I would want to work with, because I feel that could potentially also benefit you, and you can like maximize my potential as a coach as well. I told him, if I'm going to be your coach, I'm going to try my best to do 100%. Obviously, it's a bit. I haven't been within international top badminton. Like, I haven't been very close to that for a few years, but I've obviously always followed you and some of my other friends. So I've still been watching a lot of badminton, and I think there's things in badminton that will always stay the same, and then there's some things that change. And I said I'm gonna try to be the best coach possible for you, but obviously you also need to help me become that, because you need to communicate what you need, and need to be honest with each other. So there's obviously sometimes been tension. If you are spending every day for like 4 months with the same person, then obviously there's gonna be moments where you're like where you have some doubt, or where you're like feeling some tension. But all over, I think we solved the issues that have been on the way very well, and I don't think there's been any big issues.
When you talk about the situation, like when you started working together, like he was still like on rehab from injury, so that's probably has been the main focus in that time in terms of what you did in training, and compared to now, where he's like back in competition, has had a really good result right now, Spain Masters next week. So what are things that you work on right now to improve his game?
I mean, first of all, I don't need to reinvent badminton for that guy, because everyone knows that he is a very gifted player, and he has been training in one of the best, if not the best, environment for so many years. So obviously, all that is still inside his body. Like, it's not like his body forgot that training. So. In the beginning, as you said, the most important was actually to get him to play tournaments again, and gain trust in his body and in his abilities again, which also meant that in the beginning we needed to do very controlled training, and he needed to take a lot of charge of how much can I actually train, and then the Asia tournament was really just about. Asia tournaments in general, they were really just about getting him on court and actually see that as training as well, because he didn't play many matches in training before that. Yeah. So it was like, okay, we're going here and we're actually seeing this as some kind of step in our training. And then after that, he obviously needed to rest a bit and get his energy back and batteries reloaded, and then he had a busy schedule after that with the European Team Championships and 1 week of sickness after. Yeah, the last few weeks were actually just about getting him on court for England as at the best possible level, and I had the feeling in my stomach, or it was really like, I think he's gonna play well in All England, because he gained the experience in the Asia tournaments to play some matches on a high level, and after that he was able to train more or less without breaks, just a few days of sickness. So yeah, the focus was just to see how can we optimize your performance in All England, and that went well.
Yeah, that looked quite good, I guess.
And yeah, now it's really just about getting him ready for Spain to leave his heart on court there, and hopefully gain even more self-confidence, or at least play some really good matches, and maybe also still see that tournament as see it viewed a little more as training. The big tournament was the All England, where you really want to perform, but you also need sometimes smaller tournaments, you need to see how can we add another layer to your game, and sometimes you need to experiment with a few things without it being too sophisticated, but like let's try to add a few layers to your game. The things that we have been working on in training, can you maybe do that in some of the games that have less importance, even though I always like to think that all games are important, but you also need to like try to, if you want to add another layer to your game, you also need to try to test it on somewhat the highest level.
Sure. Yeah, talking about the highest level that you experienced also last week at the All England, you said you've been like nerding about badminton like all your life basically. Yeah. What would you say is, or how has the game changed if you look at the top players now with Anders, Viktor and all the other top players compared to like probably your era or the years before?
Yeah, I think first of all there's more depth, which means that if you look at like number 50 or 100 in the world, the average level there is just much higher. So there's more competition, especially on a somewhat lower level. And then I think in general the defense of people has improved a lot. Like I remember back in my era, it was like quite unique the way Lee Chong-wei and Lin Dan started defending, and not everyone could do it in that way. But today there's the physical ability that people have in their defense is quite improved overall, which obviously changes the way people approach a match, especially because you don't assume the same way that you can hit winners. So maybe there's gonna be a little more rallying and people. I mean, badminton's always been a physical game, but there's most top players are always gonna ask each other the question, who can run longer, you or I, and then there's the question, who can run faster, you or I. So these two questions you usually need to answer, and because of that, the front court game has maybe changed a bit. That you're trying to take away the front court more, because that's the way you test each other physically, by not allowing your opponent any chances to do somewhat random shots or shots that are high risk. So I guess that has changed, and otherwise I still recognize a lot of things that are the same from back in the days, but I feel also nowadays most players have improved the way they play with the drift. Back in my days, to play against the drift was a huge advantage always. But nowadays I feel like it also depends on the speed of the shuttles. So you can't actually say that it's always clear that the side where the drift goes with you is necessarily the bad one. Where I feel in my times it was always the bad one.
Okay, so players can adjust better to that drift because they have probably played more on a regular basis, or?
I think I believe that could also be because the defense has improved. So you feel more players today are more comfortable lifting on the side where the drift is going in that direction. So even though if the drift is going that way and I lift that way, then obviously I need to take off pace of my lift, because otherwise then it's gonna go out. But nowadays people, even though they are more in a defensive position, they have the ability to recover better in the defense, and that could be one possible explanation, but there could be many others as well.
Yeah.
But that could be one of them. The other one could just be like that people got more aware. We need to learn how to play with the drift. So the way we are training our technique in a way that we are still able to lift really well. And another thing is that I think the shuttles generally maybe became slower. In many tournaments, you see very slow shuttles, which is obviously makes the disadvantage of having the drift with you. It makes that disadvantage smaller because it's easier to control the shuttle. Yeah. Whereas then on the side against the drift, it can be hard actually to have enough length in your shots.
Cool. Yeah, I think I could ask like 5-10 more questions if we had time, but I want to wrap it up for you. I have just one question that I also want to ask, and it's about. I mean, here in Denmark, the country is gifted with so many talented singles players. We have Viktor, we have Anders, we have also Rasmus Kemke. Who of the other European players do you see stepping up a little bit in the future, or who do you have on your list to represent the Europeans, so apart from the Danes?
I'm not sure which age group you're now referring to, but obviously I think everyone also knows that Christo Popov from France, he has shown some good skills, but it would also not be fair to just mention one. I think France has produced a few good players, and looks like they have something good going on with Kestis there as well. Lanier is only 17 or 18 years old and has already won Canada Open or something like that, which is obviously, it's a result that speaks for itself. I mean, Toma also played a great match against Anders in India, which was close and we could have lost that one. So he's also done well, but I'm not sure if what the main priority is, doubles or singles. Or
singles.
Singles, yeah.
But I think the French are just on the rise.
I mean, France has produced many good players lately, and I mean, honestly, I think many countries have quite interesting players. We had this English guy, Johnny Turjussen. He was training with us for a few weeks in Dubai, and I mean, I can see that this is not a very high-rated player in people's mind, but for his age, the level that he showed is super good. So I think European badminton has many good players. But in the end, I cannot look into people's mind. And I think a lot also have is about the mindset, because I can see a million players that have really everything that you need from a first impression. They have everything you need to maybe potentially become a world-class player. But it's very often the things that you don't see that actually makes it really possible for you. The way you deal with specific situations, the way you handle, the way you handle downturns, the ability. I always had that theory. If you can always see the quality of a player when you look through a match, and you see now. In every match, there's gonna come a situation where things are not going as they should. So, does your level drop from here to here, or does it drop from here to here? And very often, the big difference, also, if you watch European badminton or you watch junior badminton against or versus senior badminton, the ability to, when your level is dropping during a match, that you kind of are able to catch it here instead of letting it fall down to this level. So, but then there's many other indicators. But from a first impression and what I've seen, there's many good players out there in Europe that have the potential to do that. But it's really also about training 5 years, 7 years. Your cousin, Michael Fuchs, you see what he reached in his career, and that was because he persisted and was willing to work many years.
Okay, I think the camera just stopped because we only have 30 minutes.
Okay.
So let's wrap it up. Thank you very much, Joachim, for your time. It was great fun talking to you, and good luck for the next weeks with Anders.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cool.